Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I want to call this one the Trump Slump. Not my invention of a clever phrase. It's already circulating in the financial press, both of the United States and around the world. After all, the economy, particularly after the stock market downturns of March 10 and 11, the stock market is suggesting what other indices are also suggesting, that the American economy is in trouble and may be in very serious trouble. And when investors, particularly big ones, get a whiff of that kind of thinking, they start getting really nervous that it might be time to get rid of the stocks before they tank. And enough of them felt that way on March 10th and 11th that they gave the stock market a real shock of a downturn. What I want to do here is explain three of the major reasons why the stock market crashed the way it did and why the whole situation deserves the name the Trump slump. First of all, crashes, downturns. The capitalist economy is highly unstable. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, capitalist economies in this country and around the world turn down every 4 to 7 months, years on average. Every 4 to 7 years, we have what can be called a crisis, a crash, a downturn, a bump, a bust, a recession, a depression. I mean, there's all kinds of language because we can't get rid of this cyclical disease that capitalism has. It's had it for 300 years. It's had it despite all kinds of efforts to get rid of it. The capitalists are scared that every 4 to 7 years on average, millions of people suddenly lose their job. Tens of thousands of enterprises go belly up. It's really bad. And some of them are terrible. The Great Depression of the 1930s, the so-called Great Recession of 2008 and 9, and even the last one we had in the year 2020, to which we gave the name the COVID crash, which was a bad one, shows that we have not gotten rid of this disease. It's virulently present. And why is that important? Because last week, the Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta, Georgia, issued a report saying that its economic team believed that in the United States, we would have a recession in the year 2025, this year, that our economy would drop 2%, maybe 3%. That's $1 trillion worth of output we won't see because people are unemployed and businesses are belly up. Wow. And then President Trump was asked on a television interview show on Sunday, the 9th, whether he could rule out a recession, and he said he could not. Well, that was all the investors needed to hear, and they started bailing Monday morning, 9:30, when the stock market opened. And leading the pack, big tech. And that's an interesting phenomena because that's usually considered one of the most profitable, one of the most productive industrial sectors still left in the US economy. But their stocks lost, in some cases, the most. So the instability of capitalism, the fact that we're due for a recession, because if the last one was in 2020, and we get one on average every 4 to 7 years, well, 2025 is 5 years from the last one, 2020. In other words, right on schedule. And Mr. Trump is not responsible for it, but Mr. Trump is not going to escape it, apparently, either. This is a part of the system that Mr. Trump is committed to preserve. So I guess we get the cycles, and they deserve then the name the Trump slump. But there's another reason, two more, in fact, that I want to go over with you to put this stock market downturn in perspective. Mr. Trump has been an extremely herky-jerky, on-again, off-again economic policy maker. One day we're hitting Canada and Mexico with tariffs. The next day we aren't. 2 days later, we're raising them. Then we're exempting some industries from them for a while, maybe till the end of the month, maybe longer. We're going to hit Europe with steel and aluminum tariffs. Who knows? No company who's got, say, a factory in Mexico or Canada is going to make the decision and spend the big bucks moving a factory from that part of the world into the United States because there's a tariff, because he doesn't know, or she doesn't know, whether the tariff will be there next week, next month, next year. And you don't want to go to all that expense if what you're going to be doing is discovering you made a big mistake because Mr. Herky-Jerky Trump can't figure out what he's going to do or when he's going to do it or for how long it's going to last. Veterans on Wall Street will tell you, worse than an economic downturn is an uncertain economic set of prospects, because then the investors don't make a move. They sit. And when they sit, they don't hire people, they don't buy materials, they don't open factories, they don't do all that, which keeps the economy going. And so people are very worried. We are going to have herky-jerky president for a while in economics, and that's going to make every big player hesitate, and we're all going to suffer a recession because of it. And there's one more aspect of our economic situation that's playing a role here. It's one American leaders don't like to face, don't like to talk about, try to deny, which only makes it worse. It's the fact that the American empire is declining. As I have mentioned before, we lost the war in Vietnam. We lost the war in Afghanistan. We lost the war in Iraq, and we're losing the one in Ukraine. That's the reality. We can't do what we used to be able to do for much of the post-World War II period, when the United States was the overwhelmingly dominant economic, political, military power. We aren't anymore. There simply is no way to fake it. The People's Republic of China has not only equaled us, it has bested us, and it continues to do so. It's growing 2 to 3 times faster than the United States, and has been for the last 30 years without interruption, including right to this minute. China and its allies, the BRICS, are a larger economic unit than the United States and its G7 allies. The United States and the G7 used to be the dominant economic power in the world. They aren't anymore. China and the BRICS are already bigger, and the gap between them is getting larger, and that's weighing on investors, not just American investors, but all of the foreigners who invest in the stock market in the United States. They've been doing that for 75 years because the United States was the center of this great empire, greater in its way than the British Empire that it replaced. Nobody else has 700 military bases around the world. Nobody else comes close. But we are not what we were. We are in decline, and the growing economic power is somewhere else. And that sits in the mind of all stock market investors, worried. How bad is that going to get? How long is it going to take? How deep will the decline go? Am I at risk in holding stocks? And the answer they reach is, yup, I am. And if I see the first sign of a panic, I'm going to get out before the next guy. And that's what happened Monday. And even if it comes back a little or for a while, everything I just mentioned that went into the downturn sits there, and it didn't go away, and it's not about to. And Mr. Trump isn't doing anything anywhere at this point to change that. And maybe he'll come in with big tax cuts for business and the rich, hoping that by flooding them with money, it will trickle down. Well, I got news for him. Most of the trickle down prospects never pan out. It doesn't trickle down. It stays up there with the rich and the powerful who work overtime to keep it there. And that's likely to happen here too. We are in times of big uncertainty, big change, and big decline. The Trump slump is likely to last. If interventions like this strike you as useful, please share them with your friends, your coworkers, your family. That's why we make these videos. And if you can help defray the costs, please know that by going to our website, www.democracyatwork.info, you can find ways to donate as well. It will be enormously appreciated. Thank you.